This concept is one that e-commerce marketers today need to embrace. What is your audience passionate about? And it may not be about your product, but it doesn't have to be about your product as long as your product is part of a bigger solution to get your passionate audience what they want, really.
Yeah, I'm going to shameless plug, because that's why we wrote Reputation King, our book, because it really isn't reviews. It's the end result of what reviews can do for you, which is obviously increase your online reputation, which increases your search results, which increases your click-through rate and your traffic. And then, of course, that social proof increases your conversion rate and your revenue. Welcome, everybody, to another exciting episode of Ecommerce Traffic and Conversion Podcast. Today, we have an amazing special guest that we've known for many years, Greg Jarboe. And Scott, would you introduce Greg officially?
So for all of you that are watching today, Greg Jarboe is the president and co-founder of SEO-PR, author of YouTube and Video Marketing, and co-author of Digital Marketing Fundamentals. He's also a contributor to Search Engine Journal and Search Engine Land, and an instructor at Rutgers Business School Executive Education and the New Media Academy.
Yeah. It's like, obviously I can't find regular work, so it's a little of this, a little of that.
Let's just hope you don't disappoint our audience today. That's all I can say.
Well, it's early.
We'll see how it goes. So we have to ask the question, of course, how did you get into video SEO? What was the whole career path to peel that back and become the expert in that niche?
It was totally accidental, and I wish I could say I had foresight. And I saw where no. I was doing some work for a client. The client was the Christian Science Monitor. They had a reporter named Jill Carroll, who in 2006 had been taken hostage in Iraq, held for 82 days, and then released. She came home, wrote an 11-part series on what it was like to be a hostage and think she was going to die any day. The newspaper was planning to publish the story in August, and they were a little worried that everybody was going to be on vacation that month, and so they hired my firm to do a little of this SEO-PR thing. Okay, fine, whatever. So we got a 150-word excerpt of her opening article. We got a photo of her from when she was being held hostage, because they showed, your typical hostage photo. And we started pitching. We pitched CNN, we pitched MSNBC, we pitched, the Huffington Post, etc. And as we were pitching the story and say, hey, look, the story's going to break on Monday. We can get you this 150-word excerpt and a photo on Friday if you agree to an embargo and don't break your story until late Sunday night before the article surfaces Monday morning. So that was the typical PR negotiation. All 5 of the first journalists that I talked to said, do you have any video?
Okay. The magic ingredient.
And we didn't. And I thought, oh man, one of the best stories I've ever pitched in my long checkered career, and I don't have any video. And my middle son was working for me that summer and said, Dad, that's not a big deal. I can put together a YouTube video this afternoon.
Wow.
And I went, wait a second. You've been in college? They're teaching you this in college? It's like, no, it's not hard. He said, do you have anything to work with? I said, I got no video. If I had video, I'd have video, wouldn't I? He said, well, if you can take a still photo, I can do a pan and scan thing like they do on, Ken Burns documentaries. All we need is a soundtrack, so it would be good to have a sort of a neutral narrator, and I'll put together basically a 46-second long clip. And I went, okay. So I called back all 5 of the leading journalists and editors that we'd been pitching stories to. And I said, well, I have a YouTube video. Well, that too? And they all took the story.
Wow.
They all took the story and they played it on their homepage. And in the first 24 hours, we generated 450,000 unique viewers, visitors to the Christian Science Monitor website, which was 7 times more than their daily average.
Wow.
And I went, this YouTube thing, it's got legs. So there I was in August of 2006 with no ambition to get into video whatsoever. It was, wasn't even like it. My son got me into it.
That's amazing.
He saved my bacon. And at that point, that's when we suddenly started taking YouTube seriously. And, the rest is history, as they say.
So that little serendipitous kind of experiment with video literally turned around everything you've done ever since, because
yes,
that's been the basis of your whole shtick. Books and everything.
It led to some presentations that I was giving in late 2007, early 2008. One of the people in my audience was the editor at Wiley and said, "Would you like to write a book about that?" And so my first book came out in basically 2009 in August, although I had to finish writing it earlier than that. But it included interviews with, among other people, the skinny kid from Illinois named Barack Obama, who had used YouTube to become what the Washington Post called him the YouTube president. He had used it successfully to build his brand and convince people to vote for him. I also, by the way, interviewed the video guru who was working for the other sides, for the Republicans, who failed miserably to make that work for them. But let's put it this way. Yeah. Then I started learning what worked, what didn't work. I got to interview the folks at Monty Python.
Oh, how fun.
Who used YouTube to sell a DVD and increase their sales by 1,200%. And I said, no, that's a Monty Python number. What's the real number? They said, no, that's the real number. And it was like, so yeah. The rest of the story unfolds.
Fantastic. That's a great story. And it's interesting how it just happened so really accidentally, and that your son was the instigator and got you into it. And the rest is history, as they say.
Yeah, sometimes you get lucky is I think the right answer.
So how did you transition this to e-commerce? Like your
Monty Python, and I think that's the right answer. What everyone thinks YouTube is a place to watch funny cat videos. That was its reputation for a lot of years. And there are funny cat videos on YouTube, no doubt about it. So yes, you'll find that there too. But it turns out a few, and it is an incredibly small percentage of the people who are using YouTube, have figured out that it is not only for entertaining audiences. That's a good reason why people go there. But it can also be used to inform audiences. Okay, fine. Believe it or not, there's news content that you'll find there. And, you can also sell product there? And, the answer is you can also sell product there. So, for example, just to give you a recent number, and I'm going to look over here, in 2023, just to pull the most recent year that they've got data for, over 30 billion, with a B, hours of shopping-related videos were watched on YouTube, which was a 25% increase in watch time over the previous year. And you've got people like, I don't know, Mr. Beast is selling chocolate bars off of his YouTube videos. And if he can sell chocolate bars off of the YouTube video, the question is, excuse me, have you tried this one lately?
Yeah, that's, 30 billion watched hours of shopping videos.
Shopping. Yeah. Everyone thinks that, you're talking about the Home Shopping Network. And it's like, well, yeah, they're there too, by the way. They have a YouTube channel, but the people who are really making this work are in all kinds of fields, everything from makeup to technology to you name it. And what they've taken advantage of over particularly the last 2 years, is what is called YouTube shopping. And I know everyone else in the world is looking at, TikTok, what's it doing? Or, what's the latest change at Instagram? And the answer is, yeah, those are worth paying attention to as well. But guess what? Flying under the radar that most people have ignored is what you can do with YouTube shopping. And you can sell two ways in YouTube shopping. You can sell your own stuff. So if you build a brand like Mr. Beast did, then you can start selling all kinds of things, and he does. Or they have an affiliate program where YouTube creators can sell other people's brands on their YouTube videos and make money doing that. And it's like, wait, there's affiliate marketing on YouTube? And it's like, yeah, it's been happening for the last 2 years. It's just, for whatever set of bizarre reasons, people aren't paying attention to this.
Well, and that's amazing when the data is so overwhelmingly convincing that people are obviously consuming video. And we've always read and heard that YouTube is the second most popular search engine. And that being the case, combined with the unboxing videos that are very popular, the product review videos that are very popular, obviously the YouTube shopping videos that are very popular, it seems like literally a hotbed to really get involved in if you're selling online. If you have an e-commerce store, you have to be considering seriously YouTube and video strategy as a way to go to market, create engagement, and obviously sell product.
Yeah, and by the way, YouTube has been the second largest search engine since about 2008. So people should have figured this one out a long time ago. But let me tell you something that has happened over the last couple of years, particularly since the pandemic. Facebook took a hit. Facebook is not doing as well as it was before the pandemic. YouTube went the other direction. YouTube is now the second largest website behind only Google in the United States, in the world, according to SEMrush, according to SimilarWeb. You can go to data from, let's say the Pew Research Center, which will tell you, among other things, that in the United States, 83% of adults watch YouTube, only 68% visit Facebook.
Wow.
So, excuse me, whether you're interested in the second largest search engine, and you should be, it's the first largest social media site now, bigger than Facebook. And people are still ignoring it. It's like, it's the redheaded stepchild. We looked at it once and it didn't work magic for me in the first week, so I moved on.
Yeah. And that's the problem with marketing in general, right? People have such a very, very short timeline, horizon, and attention span. And if they don't see something right away, it didn't work.
And it does take some getting used to. Marketing on YouTube is not as simple as the YouTube people would like you to think it is. It does take some, knowledge. But increasingly, the people who don't have that knowledge, who don't have that experience, and okay, fine, that's not everybody, including me. Okay. I mean, I came to this late to the dance, as it were. You got to find someone who is knowledgeable and team up with them. And you either hire them as an employee, like I did with my son one summer, or you partner with the right YouTube creators or influencers. And just last week at Brandcast, which is the YouTube's big event in New York City during the upfronts, they rolled out a series of announcements. And one of those announcements is, oh, by the way, you can now not just partner with a YouTube creator, you could take over their channel. You could literally own the channel of, you pick it, the most popular YouTube creator in your category, and sell stuff left, right, and center.
Wow. That's amazing. That could be incredibly powerful if that influencer creator is talking to your core audience. What better way to speak directly to them vis-a-vis a third-party influencer expert, celebrity? Right. Yeah.
And then here's the secret they've figured out that most e-commerce marketers haven't. And this gets to the strategy questions that I think everybody wants to ask themselves. Most e-commerce people start with their product and then try to find an audience to sell it to. Okay, right. That's a traditional approach. The YouTube creators started backwards. They started with the audience and are now looking for products to sell to them.
Because they have the audience.
Yeah. So, and I don't know about you, but building an audience is hard. And if they already have it, it's like, hello?
Well, that's the whole idea of influencers, right? They have the audience. Now you just need to find a way to obviously provide something of value to that audience through their mouthpiece, if you will, through their channel.
It's not just through their mouthpiece. It will help if they actually like your product. I've actually seen some failed experiments where you try to, how do I say this? It's like rent a celebrity. Let's get this YouTube influencer to shill my product. And they don't put their heart and soul into it. They don't look authentic. They don't sound enthused. They look like they're just trying to make some money this week. And guess what? That doesn't quite work. But if you can get people who have a passion for what you are about, and that helps, they'll do things with your product or around your product that you might not have imagined yourself. And then all of a sudden it's like, whoa. So one of the secrets to success in working with these creators is understand they know their audience better than you do. And they know what the audience is going to smell as a little, you're promoting that. And, give them some elbow room. Let them do their magic. And, oh, by the way, if they work your product in somewhere along the way, cool.
Yeah. Which reminds me, Greg, I just remembered I took your course at Rutgers. That's how we met. Remember?
There you are.
I took your course on influencer marketing. That was probably, I don't know, 8 years ago.
Yeah, it was probably.
Course. And that's how we met. And that's how we became friends. It's crazy how that works. Yeah, it's a great course. So I'm going to endorse that right off the cuff. If you want to understand influencer marketing and how that works, Greg has a great course through Rutgers. And what platform is that on again? It's on
Coursera.
Coursera. That's right.
So it's called Influencer Marketing Strategy.
Yep.
And lots of, I think about 40,000 students have taken it so far. And it gets about 4.4 stars out of 5. So it's not perfect.
I probably gave it a 5. I'm sure I did.
Well, I'm still trying to figure out how I can bump up the ratings because, darn, 4.4.
4.4 is in the sweet spot.
That's right. It's a great program.
I want better. But anyway, yeah.
Anyway, I just remembered that as funny because we were talking about influencer marketing and great program. And that's what's cool, Greg, is that actually you kind of bring together those two disciplines, video marketing and influencer marketing. And you have a deep understanding of the strategies of both and how to use both. And obviously when you intertwine the two, then you've got something extremely powerful.
But it's almost about time to retire that course. And let me tell you what's changing in real time that I'm now trying to wrestle with in its artificial intelligence. Because the course that I put together was pre-AI.
Mm-hmm.
And now there are things that AI can do that, nobody in their right mind could imagine 5-6 years ago. And it's changing things in real time. So I'm trying to track that and keep up with it. I wish I could rest on my laurels and say, oh yeah, it's just like it always was, but it's not. It's shifting as we speak.
Yeah. What's an example of that?
Well,
influencer perspective.
The one that I share in a course that I also teach over in Dubai is something that the Egyptian Tourism Authority tapped into. They wanted to get more people from the UK to come see the pyramids. Okay, fine, come see the pyramids. Now, this was before war broke out last fall, so, that tends to have a discouraging impact on tourism. But prior to that, what they tapped into was the ability to figure out what the weather was in the 6 largest cities in the UK and say, I'm going to create a series of videos, not one, but a series of them. So if it's snowing, I want to show the snowing video in, Edinburgh. If it's raining and drizzly, then I want to show the raining and drizzly video in London. And if it's foggy, then I want to show the foggy video in Manchester, whatever. So they were tying live weather feeds into an algorithm that would show that video to that audience at that time and say, if it's really a dismal day here where you are now, guess what? There is more sunshine in Egypt than in any other part of the world. Come get your sun quotient, come have a good time. We have more sunny days than any other place on the earth. So you can synchronize the weather with which spot you're showing on YouTube. Yeah.
Wow, that's great example. Great example. So how are you, if you're talking to an e-commerce site owner, what would some strategies be right now that you'd recommend to that site owner for YouTube, video, both on page, off page? How would you recommend leveraging those assets on YouTube, on their website? What would that kind of high level, let's talk turkey, this is what I recommend for an e-commerce website to leverage video and YouTube in today's environment?
Let me not name names, but tell you why it's such a difficult conversation.
Okay.
So most of them, I'm successful. You're going to come in and tell me something I don't already know? And the answer is, of course you're successful. Would you like to be more successful? So that's step one. Step two is it's all about my website. Should I be putting video on my product pages? Well, that may slow down the sales cycle. I just want them to hit the buy now button. And it's like, okay, there are times where you may or may not want to put video on the page where you're asking for the order, because I totally understand. I don't want to slow down the sales process at that moment. But guess what? There's other parts of whether you call it the customer journey or the sales funnel or pick your metaphor, and you may want to nurture that lead, or you may want to become aware, build awareness with that audience. And guess what? That doesn't happen on your website.
Yeah.
That happens somewhere else. Oh, it may happen on YouTube. Yeah. And again, if you're into advertising, you can also advertise your videos on the Google Display Network. And people think, oh, yeah, but display advertising, that's dull, boring. It's dead, right? Nobody clicks on banners anymore. And the answer is that's right. But if you look at the display network, what are they really, 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 really distributing these days? Video. Nobody wants boring banners anymore. And so guess what? You need to build a strategy, but you instead of focusing at the bottom end of the funnel or the last step in the customer journey, which too many e-commerce people are focused on, it's like that's an important step, but it's the last step. How about building out a strategy that drives people down that funnel or through that journey? And their video can play important steps in building awareness and increasing consideration and driving traffic and generating leads and actually closing sales.
Yeah.
And you can do it with everything from entertainment to how-to videos to inspiring brand related videos to documentaries. I've seen lots of different approaches, but you got to get people out of the tail end of the funnel. You got them to get them to think bigger picture.
Yeah. Well, even Amazon, all the successful sellers have video on their product detail page.
Yeah.
How to, overview. Let's look at it 360 degrees, close up, our way, in action, what it looks like in scale, how it works with other products. I mean, video is what Amazon is pushing because they know video creates engagement and conversion. So,
well, at the last step. Now, Amazon is a brilliant last step, one click, make the sale.
Right.
Yeah, and video plays a role there too.
Right.
But that's assuming somebody's already considered you, and that's assuming somebody's already aware of you. And again, too many e-commerce people are trying to harvest the low-hanging fruit. Well, pardon me, that's good. You want to harvest that. But what about the other stuff? Filling the pipeline, building a brand that people want to consider. That's a bigger concept. Now, I've seen people who have done it all in a single video. Often you may need to have different videos to do that process, but I don't know if you're familiar with the Harmon Brothers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, very much. They're in Utah.
Oh, brilliant people. I remember the first time they sent me an email saying, hey, we have this new video we just put up for a client called Squatty Potty.
Yeah.
It's got a unicorn pooping ice cream. Are you interested? And I went, Squatty Potty? Ice cream from a unicorn? Yeah, send me the video. I'll write a story on that one. And, oh, by the way, they sold a ton of Squatty Potty, not only online, retail, orders online, but also in stores. Both sales went up after the pooping unicorn video.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. One of those viral videos, so to speak.
Brilliant campaign. And they've done it for other products. So it's not just like a one-off. They've done it for mattresses. They've done all kinds of stuff. So
they made purple mattress.
Yeah. What they basically have shown me is that it is possible to create a video that will take everyone through the whole journey from I didn't know you even existed to, yeah, I think about that, to where do I place my order? But again, I've also seen people who, like Adidas, for example, or some people pronounce it Adidas, whatever.
Right.
I call them Adidas. They actually have experimented with a variety of video, some short, some long, and another capability that YouTube has, which says, tell us what your objective is, and don't worry, we'll let our algorithm determine which video we show in which order to your audience. It's like, you can do that too? Yeah. Video sequencing is another one of their secret capabilities. And, they sell sneakers by basically saying, we'll let the algorithm determine what you need to see next.
Wow. So you just create a variety of videos on various aspects and attributes, characteristics, applications, etc., for your product.
I'll upload a half a dozen of them and say, okay, algorithm, show them in the best order.
Wow. AI at work.
Amazing. Yeah. And that's not in my course that I created 6 years ago. So it's like, I should probably go back and update that part.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a whole secret weapon.
Yeah. Well, it's moving so fast. I mean, even if you update it, that might have to be a yearly update now, right? See what's going on there.
Yearly? No. Actually, I've done the math on this. It turns out YouTube changes 1/3 every year. So within 18 months, 50% of what you knew 18 months ago is now obsolete.
Wow.
And 2 years, 2/3 of what you knew is obsolete. And by 3 years, you might as well start over from scratch.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that YouTube video book you wrote, I think in 2010, 12?
The second edition was in 2011. The first edition was 2009.
Okay.
And I told my wife, don't worry, dear, it's an update. I'll still be able to do the chores around the house because updating a second edition of a book isn't going to take as much time. I told her. And then it turned out 75% of the content in the second edition was brand new because it had changed in 2 years.
Case in point. Yeah.
Yes.
Rapidly evolving.
Yeah. You talked about different types of videos. What are your thoughts on like user-generated videos where they review a product?
It's authentic. It's gold. It needs to have a moderator, obviously. Otherwise, you end up like some of the auto dealers did when they got they let a little too much user feedback dominate the process. So you need to keep it on some kind of framework, but you can't fake real. I mean, that's the wonderful thing about that user generated content. So it to the extent that you can find a way to get it to happen. I mean, one of the people who did this brilliantly and then for some bizarre reason stopped doing it were the people who did what was it, Crash the Super Bowl. They used to inspire people to say, create your best funny video. It needs to meet some criteria, but we're going to take the one that we deem the funniest and we'll run it as our Super Bowl commercial.
Yeah.
And it sold a lot of potato chips. So,
yep.
Is
Doritos.
Doritos. Yeah.
Very famous campaign and great strategy.
Yeah. So harnessing that is, it takes some talent, but again, if you give people the right motivation, because for a lot of the creators, it was their chance to get discovered.
Right.
And when you got creators competing with other creators to try to be funnier, it's a pretty good deal. Pretty good deal.
Yeah. Well, even the ones that didn't win the Super Bowl ad, they still got a ton of views because those are all uploaded to YouTube. So you could go and watch all of the entrants, the applicants.
And here's what was, I think, truly brilliant about the campaign. All that competition was happening before the Super Bowl, when people were buying chips for their Super Bowl party that they would eat while watching the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So they were selling product ahead of time. Brilliant.
Cialdini would call that persuasion. We're persuaded to buy Doritos before the Super Bowl. So yeah, it is really brilliant. That's fantastic. Love it. And then of course the ad ran, and then they were now even more convinced that Doritos were the brand, right?
At that point, nobody's buying Doritos the day after the Super Bowl. I mean,
just going forward, all the name recognition, all the chatter after the Super Bowl, we were talking about it.
It turned out the Super Bowl video was disposable. It was like, yeah, fine. We'll run that because it was part of the contest and they gave the incentive to people to do weird stuff on our behalf. So it was, the Super Bowl commercial was a lost leader. It was like, yeah, fine. Maybe it worked, maybe it didn't. We don't care.
Yeah. But people sure talked about it. Got a lot of news coverage for weeks. And we're still talking about it years later. Here we are talking about it. So
and then they stopped. It's like, wait, this is working.
Yeah. True. So what do you think are the three biggest mistakes that an e-commerce website makes when it comes to their video strategy?
Well, mistake number one is they don't even think about video. And frankly, I started off this way too, so I'm not trying to shame anybody or put anyone down. I'm a wordsmith. I got my career going because I knew how to type. All right. So most people start their site off with text. And then they learn that, if a red button is going to sell more than a green button, then I want to put, red buttons on my page. Okay, fine. Great. Terrific. So, unfortunately, you've got to start by saying, look, it's going to be a process. There are very, very few products where I'm going to see something and I'm going to just buy it. Most people need to think about it at least a little bit before they make that purchase, generally. Now, there are exceptions, but generally that's what the case is. Okay, what is that sequence? And again, for e-commerce, it is a hard discipline to think about the step before you make the sale. Yeah. But pardon me, think about the step before you make the sale. And then what about is there a step before that? So the hardest and first mistake most people do is they focus at the last step and they wonder why nobody's buying. And it's like, okay. That's because all you did was focus on the red button by now. That's a good button to have. I'm all for it. But why would I want to, in my right mind, buy it, let alone now? So mistake number one. Mistake number two, they focus on features and benefits. Why? Because all product-oriented marketers focus on features and benefits. Okay, sometimes a feature or a benefit can certainly improve consideration, can move that sales cycle along. There is a logical part to the buying process. But the research that I've spent the most time on basically says people will rationalize their purchase after they've made some kind of emotional connection. And some of the brands that I've worked with focus on what they call empathy. Mm-hmm. And if you can get your customer to realize that you know what it's like to walk in their shoes, then you know what? It's a heck of a lot easier to then introduce them to your product.
Yeah. If they know that you relate to them, you understand their problems, their concerns, their fears, their goals, their desires, you're one of them, then you're on the same page.
And oh, by the way, empathy is probably not one of your features or benefits.
Right.
So that's the second thing. And then third, and I guess we know this because maybe we speak at conferences in addition to doing podcasts and other stuff. Telling a good story, because it's hard to get people's attention, but it turns out storytelling is one of those thousands and thousands of year-old techniques that still works. So there's nothing wrong with going old school. Yeah. Find a way to tell a compelling story. And oh, by the way, sometimes that story can be short. It can be less than a minute. Fine. Great. I've seen actually the sweet spot in video is actually somewhere between 1 and 3 minutes long. So maybe the story can be a little longer. And frankly, part of the reason YouTube went beyond the 15-minute limit for videos was because people like Michelle Phan, who was doing makeup tips, and oh, by the way, selling a ton of platinum wigs so that you could have the, Madonna look or the Lady Gaga look or whatever it was that she was putting on that day. So she was doing e-commerce, 10, 15 years ago, before anyone realized you could do e-commerce on YouTube. Well, she told YouTube, it takes me more than 15 minutes to put my makeup on. Now, again, it doesn't take me that long, but for her, if she was getting ready to go out that night, and so YouTube went, you're right. Okay, fine. Then we're going to lift the 15-minute limit on YouTube videos. So sometimes long works, sometimes medium works, sometimes short works. And the real answer, and I think this is what Adidas said, make all of the above, and let the algorithm figure out which work for you.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking about your 3 tips. Obviously, 1, do it. Number 2, taking a cue from Nike, just do it. Speaking of tennis shoes. But the second one is empathy. And then the third is storytelling. Well, you can create empathy in your story. So you can really combine those 2 attributes and let people know, I understand you, I feel for you, I get you, here's my story.
And include a call to action at the end.
Right.
And boom, you've got, in fact, if you look at the Harmon Brothers, that's actually their formula. Mm-hmm. They understand, and by the way, their videos are a little longer than one would normally expect. But in that slightly longer format, they are telling us very funny story or very interesting story, or they're illustrating, here's what happens when you drop this on a mattress that has eggs on it. Whatever. They've driven cars off of cliffs that have been wrapped in duct tape. I mean, they get your attention. But there's a call to action at the end. Here's where you order this. Here's why you should order it now. So again, there is a formula. It's evolving. You can see it.
Yeah, and they start out with the empathy. We understand, the nature of pooping. We understand the nature of a good night's sleep, and we're going to show you how to be better at both. And here's the tool, and here's where you buy it.
Well, they actually got their start at OraBrush before they decided to go out on their own, and so they took a tongue cleaner. It's like I didn't even know that was a category. Yeah, and what they found is that nobody wants to use a tongue cleaner, but everybody wants to eliminate bad breath.
Right.
And so suddenly it's like, it's everything I just said, which is you empathize, and you don't sell the product. The product is the solution to the problem that you're trying to solve. Oh, wow, what a great selling proposition.
I have a question about paid advertising. How do you see that working in YouTube? Do you think that's an effective way to market your product?
Yes. And with a lot of my clients, we do both. We do organic and we do paid. And here's the secret. If somebody watches your ad, then you pay for it. But if somebody watches your ad and shares it with a friend, that doesn't cost you anything in ad dollars. It's called, an earned view. And so advertising, if done right, can earn you free views. So, again, too many of us are used to what I'm going to call the television world, where people would watch your ad and then go back to watching the comedy or whatever it was that they really were there to see. You were just the interruption in between, during the pod or the commercial break. Done right, your ad can be something people want to watch and share with their friends. It's like, how bizarre is that?
Yeah. True. If you make it interesting, informative, intriguing, funny, whatever the case may be, well, it's the old viral video strategy, right? And you never know it's going to go viral. You can't create a viral video. They just happen because you tap into a nerve or a type of humor or something that captivates people. And obviously the Harmon Brothers were great at creating many videos that did go viral. They all don't, even if you think they're going to. Viral happens, right? But yeah, you have to tap into something that stirs people or is really intriguing or really provocative.
Well, it turns out the people who are doing research on this these days, and they're doing it at several different universities, have identified 39 different emotions that you can tap into. So the palette that you can paint with is actually not constrained. There's not like, at one point in my evolution, I thought there were 4. There's just 4 things you can do. It's like, no, there's 39. And 4 of them happen to be on the list of 39, so I feel good about that. But there were way more than I suspected when I started. So there are lots of different ways you can tap into getting people's attention, stirring some kind of emotional response. And that's then when they start rationalizing about, okay, so can I afford this? Or, is now the time to get this? Or, okay. Now you're moving them down the sales funnel the way you want to.
Right. Yeah, it's fascinating. There's so much psychology in it and leveraging the psychology and emotion and empathy and fears, right? Fear of loss, hope for gain.
Oh, yeah. And that's what video does better than text.
Yeah.
It's
because you have the nuances, you have the expressions, you have the nuance of facial expression, body language, environment, context, scenarios, proximity. I mean, there's so many nuances you can bring into a video.
Yeah. And by the by, last year, my wife and I went to Sicily for a vacation, and we saw an ancient Greek amphitheater that they are actually still using today to put plays on. And it was like, oh, the Greeks got this thousands of years ago. They understood that it wasn't just about chanting and reciting the poetry. It was putting people on stage and showing the drama or the comedy or the,
Yeah.
And yeah, it still works thousands of years later. So don't dismiss old technology just because it's old.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up, the drama, because drama is really dramatizing emotion, dramatizing the human experience. And that's why the makeup is so vibrant and exaggerated. The clothing, the hair, the scenes, it's all exaggerated to dramatize the human experience, because that's where you tap into the emotion. And of course, we all say You sell an emotion, and then you justify in logic. So if you can't tap into that emotional core, desire, fear, etc., then your chances of getting a sale are very slim, unless it's a very utilitarian product. I need 4, Phillips number 12 screws. Okay, there's no emotion in that. But by and large, products and services need some kind of an emotional charge or impetus to get people to the finish line.
Well, then let me pull from the course that you took. One of the lessons that I think I shared with you in that course was the lesson of 2 Frenchmen, the Michelin brothers, who had a product to sell. It was called the pneumatic tire. And trust me, nobody cares about my pneumatic tire is rounder than your pneumatic tire. It's like, yeah, tires. I'm gonna spend nights thinking about what tire should I be getting. Now, they were doing this back when there were actually bad roads in France. I mean, we're talking over 100 years ago. Why would I want to drive my automobile outside of Paris? I mean, then I'm going to be on dirt roads. It's like, ugh. And so if they were trying to sell tires based on features and benefits, they would have been failures. But they tapped into what their audience really was passionate about, which was food. And they came up with this crazy idea, let's create the Michelin Guide and tell people not just about where the best restaurants in Paris were, they knew that, where the best restaurants were out in the provinces that were, quote, worth driving to, unquote. That's what a 3-star review in the Michelin Guide is all about. It's worth driving out of your way to eat at this. Yeah, you're going to have to go over a lot of dirt roads. And oh, by the way, it would probably help if you had pneumatic tires, because if you get a flat, they're easier to replace and repair. But, the replace and repair part was at the back end of the Michelin Guide. It was the food reviews. And so, again, this concept is one that e-commerce marketers today need to embrace. What is your audience passionate about? And it may not be about your product, but it doesn't have to be about your product as long as your product is part of a bigger solution to get your passionate audience what they want, really.
Yeah, I'm going to shameless plug, because that's why we wrote Reputation King, our book, because it really isn't reviews. It's the end result of what reviews can do for you, which is obviously increase your online reputation, which increases your search results, which increases your click-through rate and your traffic. And then, of course, that social proof increases your conversion rate and your revenue. So if you, right? So that's really the whole idea behind Reputation King as a strategy. It's not about the reviews per se. It's about what the reviews will do for you. It's not about the tires. It's about what the tires will do for you. Better ride, safe, comfortable, reliable, etc. And they will take you to those destination restaurants, because the French are foodies and they want to explore the unknown restaurants outside of France, France.
Outside of Paris. Yeah.
Outside of Paris.
No, the first one was for France, but then they discovered that, by the way, this works in lots of other countries too. So today, there is still a Michelin Guide. Today, getting 3 stars is still critical to your restaurant success.
Mm-hmm.
But, oh, by the way, today, Michelin is one of the biggest brands of tires in the world. So who knows? It still works.
Well, and then the modern day part of that story is they put the baby inside of the Michelin tires. I remember that campaign.
Oh, yeah.
And that was all about safety, because mom wants the safest tires for the family car because she's toting around the kids.
Yep.
And so they went from adventure and kind of a destination for foodies to soccer moms. And what is the most safe, reliable tire in all road conditions for your family?
Yep.
And that was a hugely successful campaign. And they still run that to this day as, Michelin, the safest tire. In fact, little known fact, the National Highway Safety Commission rates all other tires against Michelin. So Michelin has become the benchmark in which all other tires are rated. FYI.
Dude, you have such random stuff.
That I didn't know. But so, see?
Look it up. It's true.
Here I am learning stuff. This is good.
I geek out on tires.
That's true. You do like cars and that kind of stuff. So
all these cars. Anyway.
So Greg, can you give us an example of a video campaign that you've done that you're proud of or that was successful in your career?
Oh,
one of your favorite?
Yeah. I guess the one that I won an award for in 2010 was a campaign that we did for the SES Conference and Expo Series. And we didn't create one video. We created a whole series of videos, and we created them around not one event, but 5 events. One in SES London, SES New York, SES Toronto, SES San Francisco, and SES Chicago. And flashing back to the misty mist of the pasty past, what was happening in that era was we were in what was called the Great Recession.
Mm.
And what we knew was in a recession, everyone's going to have their travel budget cut, and attending conferences and expos was going to be the only reason I can justify this and get permission to go attend was if this is a must-attend event. So how do we make a series of events must-attend events? And we used YouTube video, and we used it in a variety of ways, one of which was to show the attendees why if you skipped a year, you would kick yourself later. And I remember one woman at SES Toronto who said, last year I skipped it for budget reasons, and I've come back and I suddenly realized I've been making all these mistakes for the last 2 years, and I had to come to a new conference before I discovered that. And so again, she was authentic. We didn't give her a script. We were just interviewing people, why are you here? What are you getting out of it? So that was part of the award-winning campaign. But the other part was with somebody that everybody overlooks, which is the exhibitors. And so we also sent a crew around to the different exhibitors to say, why are you here? What benefit are you getting from being at this show? And again, open-ended questions, but we would find people to say, are you kidding? Trying to do business in a recession? That's hard. But it turns out the hardcore turns up here. These are the people who are kicking our tires and buying our products. And, that's keeping us alive in the recession. So stories like that. And the third element was the speakers. We would talk, particularly the keynote speakers. Why are you here? What advantage do you get from getting up in front of the audience? But working all 3 of those dimensions: the attendees, the exhibitors, the speakers. In the first year that we ran this program, from early 2009 to early 2010, we were flat. And one of the lessons that my client told me, he says, in this environment, flat is the new up. Mm-hmm. Because if we could hold our own in terms of audience and exhibitors in a recession, that was good. In the second year of the campaign, now again, the recession is starting to wind down and end, we were up by double digits in attendance, in exhibitors, and we were still able to get the top-notch speakers for the keynote addresses. So that campaign, the must-attend campaign, may have had 60 videos in it over the course of 2 years. But it put butts in seats, which was what our mission was. And it did it in a recession.
That's fantastic. That's a great anecdotal story. Well, Scott, do you want to pop the $1 million question?
I don't have my $1 million bill handy. Do you?
They always have my $1 million bill.
Wow. $1 million
right.
bill. Okay, you got my attention. Now what do I have to do?
All right.
So we're going to ask you the $1 million question. So as an expert in your industry, right, in video and SEO, what is one actionable strategy that you think could have the biggest impact today on an e-commerce brand?
Whoa. Okay. I wish I could give you the simple answer, because then I would actually go out and do it and I'd make the $1 million. Okay. But let me tell you what I'm encouraging other people to do, because I wish I had the answer. So my pathway to finding the answer is test, experiment, try things. Right now, there is a whole slew of new AI video generators coming to market. And I've been playing around with them. Some of them aren't really ready for prime time. Some of them show promise. The ones that are really kicking butt and taking names, actually, the secret sauce that nobody's paying attention to is they're being used by really creative people to do things with the AI. And so you got to wonder, is this the AI tool's capability or the AI tool in the hands of a really creative person's capability? And I'm not sure I know where one leaves off and the other one starts. But what I can say is start testing and expect that there will be failures. Don't let that discourage you. It's like, okay, so I can mark that one off my list. I learned what it could do. I learned what it couldn't do. And by the way, it couldn't do what I wanted it to do. But somewhere along that way, you're going to discover that this AI stuff is the thing that the rest of us don't have our arms around yet. And if you can figure out that before I can, or before you can, or before your competitor can, then you have found $1 million solution. So I don't know what it is. All I can tell you is, I'm testing stuff all the time. No, I haven't found the one silver bullet yet, but I'm looking for it.
Well, I think it goes back to your previous answer is 1, do it, start. 2, inject empathy. And 3, tell your story as a baseline, and then amplify that with AI where possible. That could be, one strategy. Well, Greg, you're always a deep well of knowledge and information and resources and stories and anecdotes, and obviously a long history in success with YouTube and video. So now you're on the hook for at least every 6 months to come back on our show to give us the new updates on YouTube, since you've dropped that bomb. But we really enjoyed having you. We really did. You're always great to talk to and always have so much information to share. So how can people get a hold of you, learn more about you, get your books? How can they engage with you and your agency and your deep well of knowledge?
Get my books. First of all, do not buy my book, YouTube and Video Marketing. Don't buy it. Don't.
It's antiquated.
That's a first. I've never heard anybody say not to buy their own book.
Well, the second edition was published in 2011.
But you have a new digital marketing book.
Do you know how out of date? Yeah. Okay, so I do have a new book. Here. Well,
it's a brand new book.
Brand new book, Digital Marketing Fundamentals. Okay, this is only 1 year out of date. So understand that there should be a date stamp or a freshness stamp, or is best used if by stamp on all books, because things move too quickly. We know that there's going to be a need for a second edition of this book in about 6 months, because half of what's in it from a year ago will be out of date. One of the things that's missing is no discussion of AI. Boy, we're going to have to include that on the next edition. So be wary of books. Normally, books are really useful as a way of coming up to speed on a topic, but the topic is moving too quickly for the book to actually serve as anything useful. What I would recommend instead is make your way to the next conference, wherever it is, And there are a lot of different people who are doing conferences. You can go to the SMX conferences, you can go to the PubCon conferences, find a conference near you. Because it turns out that, the speakers will generally have interesting things to say, but it's the people in the audience that you get to network with. And I always found that I learned 20% of what I knew from the speakers and 80% of what I knew from my colleagues who were also there in attendance. And so network, and learn from your peers, because all of us are out there looking for solutions. All of us have part of an answer. And this is one where you need to piece together what you know, what the person next to you knows, what they're willing to share over, beers at PubCon. I don't know if you remember, they used to have an event at PubCon they called Drink Bait. If you had your photo taken with one of the industry experts that was worth 3 to 5 points, I was only 3 points in the drink bait. There were other people there who were 5 points if you could get your photo taken with them. But I found another guy, Gordon Gossage, who was also a 3-pointer. So we would hang out together, and together you can get the photo with 2 of us. That's 6 points.
That's right.
So network.
Yeah, you got to meet people. It's still old school. You got to shake hands, meet people, and find people that have unique skills, knowledge, insights, strategies, ideas that you can obviously learn from and collaborate with.
Yep.
Well, thanks so much, Greg. We really, really appreciate your time as usual. And this has been really helpful for us. We're sure it's going to be helpful for our audience. And please join us again for our next episode of the E-Commerce Traffic and Conversion Podcast. Take care.
Take care, everybody.
Ciao.